Welcome to another episode of It Had to Be Said podcast, where we say out loud what you think in private. And in today's podcast, I want young people to think about this and ask themselves, does your parent really love you? And I want parents to think about this. Are you really doing what's in your kid's best interest? Are you setting them up for success, or are you setting them up for failure? The reason why I ask that is because I've been paying attention to what's been going on in the news lately, especially with prom and graduation, it being the end of the year. By the way, today is June 2nd, 2026. Now, one of the first things I want to talk about is these graduation ceremonies. There is a few graduation ceremonies events that went viral. One of them where the principal just had to shut down the entire ceremony halfway through because the kids were just dancing and acting erratic. The parents were just loud. And, the principal said something. He said, this is a dignified ceremony. And it's a dignified event. It's kind of like that threshold where, you are no longer a child and you're going into adult lifehood. And that's not the moment where you're supposed to act a fool, right? And a lot of people are saying, well, it's a joyous occasion. Everybody's happy and celebrating, but it's also a dignified ceremony. It's a ceremony. And it's a time where children are supposed to be able to show, hey, I've passed that threshold. I'm moving into adulthood now. And they're supposed to show their maturity because the next level is college. And their parents, their family members are there. People from their community are there. So if that child doesn't have the common decency or the sense to understand that what they do on that stage is a reflection of how they were raised, then are they really prepared for society? The other thing about that is, why is it that a child would feel so comfortable to do something like that when their family members are around? The elders of the family members are there watching them during this dignified event. Is it because the parents did not teach them properly? Is it because the parents indulged them? The next thing you got to look at is the prom situation. And when you look at what happened with prom, you've had so many instances where you have parents spending thousands of dollars, even sometime over $10,000 on prom outfits, car rental, and these parents, they're living well within poverty or from check to check throughout the entire year, but yet they save up for this one occasion and they spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, some people may say because they love their child, and because it's a special event and that's a sign of a good parent. But is it really? Because normally that's not a one-off with just prom. That's just normally how they look at life in general. So if you're an individual and a parent and you're living check to check throughout the entire year except for maybe income tax time, and during income tax season, what do? You either go out and get a brand new car or you use that money to pay bills that you're really behind on. What are you teaching your kid when you take all of the money that you have in your savings, and sometimes you take out loans or max out your credit cards so they can go to prom in style? You're telling them live in the moment. You're telling them, hey, not to invest. Don't worry about investing. You're telling them to continue that process like you are living check to check, and it's okay, And so I ask a lot of people. Not a lot of people, but I ask young people to ask themselves, look at their behavior. Is your parent encouraging certain behaviors that are going to help you succeed in life or going to cause your life to be difficult and cause you to fail? One of the saddest examples of that would be the incident that happened with this young man. His parents spent well over like $8,000 for his prom. Nice car rental, expensive clothes. This kid looked immaculate. And then he was shot and killed. I believe it was at an after party for prom. And now the parents are doing a GoFundMe for his funeral because they don't even have enough money for the funeral. And you hear a lot of people saying, well, wow, you spend that kind of money on prom, you don't have enough money to bury your child? Like, so you basically wiped out your account for one evening. And we don't realize that as parents sometimes. And we think that we're doing something awesome for our kids, but we don't realize that we're teaching our kids bad habits, habits that's going to cause them to fail in life. You know, I had this thing that I used to do with my kids when they would get their allowance. I would say, look, you got your allowance. Now, we can go to Walmart or you can go to whatever store you want to, and you can buy, whatever chips, or you can order a pizza from Pizza Hut, with your $20 or whatever the case may be. Or you can go to the dollar store and get practically for your $20, get like 18 bags of candy, or get, frozen pizza for like, 5 frozen pizzas for $1 each. And you can buy yourself some candies, you can buy yourself some chips. And I did that because I wanted them to understand how to make their money work for them. Don't just buy something because it's brand name, There was a joke that I made with a colleague of mine one time. Well, I made a joke with a colleague of mine because I remembered I used to work for this company, and it was take your kid to work there, I believe it was. And when I did that, it was like we had ordered pizza that day, I believe. I believe it was take your kids to work there, or it was some other event that we went to. And they had like Papa John's pizza or Pizza Hut pizza.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
And I was just like, oh man, my kids are going to be spoiled now, because I always get them the Little Caesar. At the time, they had like the $5 pizzas with Little Caesar. And whenever my kids wanted pizza, I would always say, okay, look, you guys, you can get 2 pizzas, or, 2 or 3 boxes of pizza, because it's $5 each, but, y'all pick what y'all want, So they would go and they would pick a pizza, and they would get like 2 big boxes of pizza rather than just get 1 pizza for like $20 from, one of the Papa John's, whatever. We just go to Little Caesar, which I always used to say is not real pizza, because everybody knows how the $5 pizza was. It was kind of like very thin and whatever the case may be. But it was something, I did that just to make sure that they understood, like, make your money work for you. Okay. I always tell people a story that, my son, when he got his first pair of Jordans in high school, he literally cried because he never thought I would get him one of those, because I was not one of those parents who really wanted my kid to really get stuck on materialistic things. Because once a kid at a young age, gets stuck on these materialistic things, they think that's what life is all about. And then they want to spend, every year they want to get the newest iPhone. They want to spend money on Jordans, and they don't want to invest. They don't want to put money aside for a rainy day, because they just want to live in the moment, and they just want to do this YOLO thing, So I think that's very important, that as parents, we ask ourselves, do we love our kids? And what we're doing for them, is that actually showing love, or is that setting them up for failure? Because think about this, most kids, most kids, not all kids, most kids are going to be closest to the parent that lets them get away with everything, that gives them everything that they want, that lets them hang out as late as they want, go out, play video games late, eat whatever they want, listen to whatever music they want, dress however they want. The parent that lets them get away with murder is the parent they typically want to be closest to. All right? And the thing about it is, the closer they are to that parent that lets them get away with murder, the worse off that child becomes, because that child gets no sense of responsibility. So now, as a young person, if you're listening to this, think about this. Your mother or your father, or that parent that actually is doing all that for you. They may love you, and subconsciously, they may not even realize the damage that they're doing to you. But you have to sit there and say, Mom, Dad, why are you just letting me do all these things? Why are you not setting boundaries? Why are you not telling me no? Because by you not setting boundaries, it's not that you're showing me that you love me so much. You really don't, you may not realize it, but you're letting me get away with murder. And you're going to spoil me, and I'm going to become something that is not going to succeed in society. I'm going to become another statistic, which is what you see happening a lot. When I looked at those videos from graduation where the kids get on the graduation floor, they're dancing, popping, locking, and then there are literally fights breaking out at graduation ceremonies. I'm sitting here like, are you not thinking about how embarrassing that is for your family, for your mother, for your father, for the people that raise you, whether it's your grandma, your auntie, or your uncle? You know how embarrassing that is? And if your parents are not embarrassed by your actions and they're defending it, you have to sit there and think, what kind of person am I going to become? Because that's not the job of a parent. When I hear teachers talking about how parents would come to school and argue with the teachers and want to fight teachers for their children, that is not love. That's you telling your child not to respect authority, not to respect the teachers, and you're telling that child, no matter what garbage you do, me as a parent, I will be right here supporting you and backing you up. So therefore, you don't understand that kids don't understand how the real world works. A lot of young kids, they don't understand about justice system and the political system. So the only form of authority that they know as a child is their household, is their parents. So they feel like if I do something, mom or dad is going to bail me out of it and get me out of this. So they think that's the only form of authority that they have to answer to until they cross that line, and then they have to deal with the justice system. And that's when the reality starts to kick in. And normally by that time, it's too late. They're already done screwed up. So ask yourself as a parent, how much do you love your child? Do you love your child enough to discipline them, keep them in line, and to be honest with them? Because I always say this, a lot of parents are not honest with their children. They don't tell their kids, look, we don't have it like that. We're poor. And we're poor because me as a parent, when I was young, I made a lot of messed up mistakes. And so therefore, I don't want you to make these mistakes. So therefore, I'm going to be a little bit more harder on you. And I don't want to see you cross certain lines, and I'm going to set boundaries for you. When that kid says, hey, Mom, I want that new iPhone is $1,000. What percentage of that iPhone are you going to use? And how is that iPhone going to help you succeed in school? Or what is it going to do for you to make your life better or easier? Is it just a materialistic thing? And I think that's something that we really need to ask our kids when the kids say, well, I want the new Air Force Ones or the new Jordans. Okay, explain to me, how is that going to benefit you? And when you ask them that question, it makes them think, am I getting it for me, or am I getting it because that's what everybody else is telling me to get? Because a lot of times, and I've said this before, a lot of us, we are imitating the 95% of people out there that are barely making it in life, rather than imitating the 1%ers or the 5% of people that are succeeding in life. Because there are more people than the 95%, and so it's a bigger reflection of what's going on in society. So everybody wants to fit in with that bigger percentage of society, which is the 95%. So we want to imitate them. And the 5%, which does not, which is a very small percentage of society, we're looking at them like, why are you guys dressing like that? That dress, you guys are dressing so, oh my God, like that is so boring, And then we look at them and say like, well, why do you talk like that? You're not talking hip. You're talking so square. You're talking so nerdy. But guess what? Those are the ones that are making it. Why are you not going out? Why are you not drinking? Why are you not willing to throw away your life because somebody stepped on your sneakers or something like that, And that's the thing about it. We need to teach our kids to imitate the 5% of people out there that are actually living life and not just surviving. That's all I'm going to put in for today's podcast. Like I said before in previous podcasts, I post new episodes every Tuesday and every Thursday. If there's a particular topic, a particular conversation or video you would like for me to comment on, you can DM me on Instagram at It Had to Be Said Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, good night.